In this video, I'm going to give you my honest opinion about the new 40K Combat Patrol. So I'm back down here in the nerd bunker. Hopefully the lighting's a little bit better. I'm still working on it. Everything went wrong today. Not even related to this, just everything went wrong. So that's why I'm filming down here and why I don't really have any notes or anything to follow. I'm just going to give you my general ideas about my honest opinion, honestly, about the new, finally released everything Combat Patrol for 40,000 or Warhammer 40,000. This morning, as I'm filming this, they finally came out with the Combat Patrol. There's the 6 missions. There's kind of like special stuff in there. You could play without those things. They had released, obviously, the 60-page PDF some time ago. That's already come out. That's the core rules, and that is the core rules that you use for both playing regular Warhammer 40,000, 10th edition, and also for playing Combat Patrol, if you didn't know. So you don't need anything special beyond that, those rules. But the stuff that they released today is kind of nice to have because there's 6 different missions, and there's also some other kind of stuff that makes things a little bit clearer as to how to set up and run a mission for Combat Patrol. Now, the game came out last weekend, like the big Leviathan box and all that kind of stuff. So this is the week after all of that, which is a little weird. I was kind of thinking that they were going to be coming out with this document before Leviathan launched. I kind of assumed that it was going to come out at the same time when all of the data sheets came out for Combat Patrol. So again, Combat Patrol is using a different set of data sheets than regular 40K. If this isn't something you've been paying attention to, I want to try to make it really clear, because the idea behind Combat Patrol, this new kind of mode of play for Warhammer 40,000 10th edition, is that it is designed for beginners. There's a chart, like a little kind of graphic in the book, in the main big thick Leviathan book that you might get if you did that. Or if you decide to buy the other just regular core rulebook, which I think is going to be, I think it went on pre-order last week, and it'll be coming out soon. Both of those books, I'm assuming, at least, I haven't seen the second one, but I'm assuming they're going to have roughly the same amount of information in them, and one of the things they'll have in them is a little chart that says, if you're interested in getting into 40K, start here, Combat Patrol, and then either go to narrative if you want to play, more story-driven games, or, matched play for competitive. And that's like part of the plan now, right? So the whole concept behind them kind of dragging their feet a little bit on this document that got released today is a little weird to me. It smells like a business idea, like a business thing. Like, well, if maybe we'll sell more copies of Leviathan if this, I don't know. It may not be that. That may be just me being, a conspiracy theorist, which Lord knows, sometimes I am. But now the promise that kind of came out way back in March, where they first announced 10th edition and also announced this kind of revamp of Combat Patrol, this has finally all come to fruition because they have said, since the beginning, all the Combat Patrol stuff is going to be free. You buy one of those boxes, which I talked about, all the different prices. I mean, the boxes are all the same price, but like each box has got like a certain amount of stuff that if you were to buy it all at retail, it would cost more or whatnot. You can watch that video here. Pachow. But now all of the data sheets are out that are all designed to kind of tie all of these boxes together and to hopefully make them kind of balanced, which I'll get back to in a second. The core rules are out, which is the standard that you use to play both Combat Patrol and 40K, and then now this new document. So the whole concept of them saying all the Combat Patrol rules are going to be free, it's true. Everything's out there. So if you're interested in getting into Warhammer 40,000, which Lord knows a lot of people, are, whether you're a new player altogether or someone who's lapsed and coming back, which is honestly kind of what I'm doing. I haven't really played any 40K since 8th edition, so this has been fun so far. Sam and I have already played several games of Combat Patrol with our stuff. I've already gotten 2 Combat Patrols painted up. I've got the Leviathan Space Marines, right? There's a Combat Patrol in that box for Space Marines and one for Tyranids. I did the Space Marines. My friend Sam did the Tyranids. You should check out his video, Pachow, because it's pretty awesome. But anyway, yeah, so I've done those guys. Plus, I also did the Death Watch. I bought that Death Watch box while I was still at Adepticon, the day after the announcement when they were like, hey, 10th edition, which I kind of expected, and Combat Patrol, which I'll be honest, I didn't. And then the next day I went and bought a Death Watch Combat Patrol box from some local retailer that was, vending there at Adepticon. And I've been painting it on Twitch, and they're all done now as well. So now I've got two Combat Patrols, and I'm starting to build, well, I'm nearly, probably halfway through building Imperial Guard Combat Patrol. The cool thing that I like about Combat Patrol is that, and I've talked about this a bunch, is that you can just buy a box and you don't have to worry about rules for building, like list building. You don't have to go, as a new person, be like, geez, I don't know if I should, should I take this, or should it be better if I took that, or is it better if I take a plasma gun or if I don't? All that is not something you have to worry about with Combat Patrol. If you want to get into those little management type of little decisions and stuff like that, 1,000-point games are going to probably be what you're aiming for. And honestly, at least 2, if not 3 of my Combat Patrols are eventually planning on moving towards 1,000. I'm planning on making them into 1,000-point lists. Definitely the Space Marines, which I'm going to technically turn into Blood Angels, and the Guard, the Astra Militarum, they're going to be 1,000-point list as well. So I think my opinion is that this is a great way to get people, who are interested into 40K specifically. And I'm not saying interested in wargaming. That's a totally different thing. I think if you're interested in just wargaming in general, there are better and cheaper ways, very frankly, to get into wargaming than to get into Combat Patrol. I think there's better ways to get into wargaming than to try to get into 40K through Combat Patrol. And I'll maybe make a video about that kind of stuff. Let me know down in the comments below if you'd like me to make some sort of video like that. That said, if you do want to get into 40K, because a lot of people do, it's very popular, it's just the way things go, it is a pretty decent game, and the models are pretty awesome, and if you're into the lore, there's lots of that as well. But if you've always wanted to get in, but it's always seemed daunting, this Combat Patrol thing, in my opinion, is the smart move. You buy a box, you build it the way they tell you, you download free rules, you download free data sheets, and you're ready to go. You need some dice and like a tape measure too. And the microphone died. I had to switch microphones because the other one has an inbuilt rechargeable, and it died. So anyway, new mic. All right, it's been, like I said, that kind of day. So what are the complaints? There are complaints out there. I've seen them. I've done some research. I've been going out online onto the internet. It wouldn't be the internet if there weren't complaints, I'm pretty sure. So looking at places like Reddit and Facebook and Twitter, not, the greatest, but that's where I've been looking. There are 2 big ones, which I think are tied for first place. Number 1 is kind of related to the thing I was just talking about, list building. There are people out there who don't like the fact that you can't list build in Combat Patrol. They're like, but I want to take a plasma rifle or plasma gun instead of this, or I want to take this, or I always want to take plasma pistols. I'm not going to lie. If I have the choice, I love the thing I love about the new 40K is that I can just take plasma pistols when I want to. Like, as long as the rules say you can swap this out for this, and one of those things is a plasma pistol, I'm going to take a plasma pistol every time. But there are people out there that are not happy about that, which I understand to some degree. But honestly, I think if you're really interested in the list building of it, you're probably not necessarily a brand new player, which is, again, kind of who they're aiming at with Combat Patrol. And number 2, you should probably play 1,000 points. Like, I suspect that at some point, I already have 3 lists written up for 1,000-point lists, because I don't want to say I'm a veteran, but I have been doing this for a long time. I haven't played since 8th, but I have been doing this for a long time. So building lists is still a thing that I do enjoy. I enjoy it more now that I'm constantly not getting nickeled and dimed for all of the little extra bits, the extra different weapons, all the plasma pistols that I want to take. So there's that. But there are people out there that are not happy about that, within Combat Patrol, which I understand to some degree. The other thing, again, that I see online a lot that's tied for first is also, well, they're not equal. They're not balanced. Now, I made a video a long time ago about about how balance isn't real, kind of, to some degree. Pachow. They have, I think, tried probably their best they've done a lot of balancing through a couple different things. Some of these lists, specifically Grey Knights and Custodes, they've actually said you actually get the ability to do a little bit of list building, as it turns out. They are like, you can either take this unit or this unit, but you can't take both in your combat patrol. So that gives you some options, some choice. But it also doesn't allow you to use the entire box, which is fine because, honestly, like Custodes specifically, I think is nearly a 900-point box, whereas let's say Imperial Guard is like a 365-point box based off of the way that they've got it kitted out in the combat patrol datasheets. So there's that. Really, the game is not designed to be played competitively, and when I say the game, I mean combat patrol. Normal 40K, that's a totally different story. You know, your mileage may vary, but combat patrol is designed to get people into the game and to have fun. And so to sit, like, there should probably never be a tournament of combat patrol. A combat patrol tournament seems kind of to go against the grain of what they're doing there. So that's a little odd. I don't know. So between the, you know, I want a list build and also the folks that are like, yeah, but, you know, these things aren't, you know, equal and balanced. Those are the two big kind of complaints that I've been seeing online. And I don't know that I personally agree with either of them, but again, I'm not the right kind of player in that situation. I'm the person who just wants to play and have some fun. And, you know, honestly, I've seen people online who have said that the combat patrol for the Space Marines from Leviathan are overpowered. You know, there's 12 models in that box. And they're like, oh, that's super overpowered. I'll tell you, I haven't won with them yet because there's only 3 units in there. There's technically 4, but you're going to take that librarian and attach him to the Terminators. You'd be dumb not to, in my opinion. So, yeah, you've got 3 units, and it's real hard to take objectives when you have 3 units. And those Primaris Infernus guys with the flamethrowers, they can do some work, but they die real easy. So, yeah, I don't know. Are they powerful? Can they kill a lot of bugs? I've gone up against Sam a bunch, and I've killed a lot of his bugs, but he's won every game so far because he can take more objectives, and I kind of can't. So they're balancing things with the secondary objectives. They're balancing things by saying that certain armies can have to choose between this unit and that unit. They're doing the work on that. And then the list building thing, I don't think that's going to really particularly change. So that's, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be. The other issue that I kind of have a little bit here, I really wish that they would have made lists for the 3 armies that they didn't make lists for. So there are 2 boxes, possibly 3 boxes actually, that are out there maybe at your local store that there are no Combat Patrol lists for. There are Combat Patrol boxes out there, the old Space Marines box, the old Tyranids box. So the old Space Marines box had the floating El Camino in it. The old Tyranids box was like, oops, all Termagants. It's just like zillions of Termagants and like an extra guy or whatever. There's a little bit more than that. And then, of course, there's the Necrons, which had a flyer in it, that big flying croissant thing. They didn't make rules for those. Now, it's because they're replacing them. Space Marines got replaced with part of the Leviathans. Tyranids, the same thing. And the Necrons, they've come out with, if you look in the Leviathan big hardcover book, they show in there, here's what the new, here's what the new Necron box is going to look like. And it's got mostly all stuff from Indomitus, which was 3 years ago, starter box, and then a Doomstalker, which is that tall, kind of spindly guy with the gun on his head. So I'm assuming that box will come out soon, but if you've got a bunch of the old Indomitus stuff, you could use that and then just buy a Doomstalker or just, proxy in the Canoptic Reanimator that came in Indomitus if you want to. But I think it would have been smart for them to actually add in, have sheets for the old ones too, because I'm sure that there are people out there who bought one of those boxes after hearing about Combat Patrol and maybe even started building and painting, and then these, the data sheets come out and then they're like, this doesn't look like my guys, and that's kind of a bummer. I honestly think they could have come out with the older data sheets for those 3 boxes as well to cover those people, and I think that would have been at least a nice gesture, and it would have just given more choice, if you were out there. But I don't know, maybe we'll see it. We'll still possibly see it. Maybe they didn't want to do that pre-Leviathan because they want you to buy the Leviathan box because you get 2 combat patrols basically in there if you buy the Leviathan box. So maybe that's part of the thought process, but we'll see. Overall, I think that everything that they've done so far, they've followed all of the things that they've said they were going to do. They said the rules, all of it's going to be free. So you buy yourself that $160 box, and then you download the rules document with the core rules. You download the Combat Patrol document that's got the mission stuff in it that just, again, like I said, got launched today. And then you download your specific data sheet for Combat Patrol that's already pre-built, and the list is locked, and that's the way you do it. That's what they said they were going to do, and they've done it. I was a little concerned there because that mission thing, the sheet that came out today, it took a little bit of a while to get here. We're almost a week past the launch of Leviathan, so they did it. So now the question is, what are they going to do going forward? I don't know that they need to do a lot going forward. I mean, they're going to come out with new Combat Patrols, obviously, like that. They make models and stuff, so there'll probably be another Combat Patrol box. I'm assuming, again, like I said, Necron box will probably be the first one. Then they'll probably put out separate boxes for the Leviathan, Space Marines, and then the Tyranids, those lists. And then after that, who knows exactly? Maybe they'll finally make one for the Knights that people have been asking for. I'd love to see how that's going to work out. If you've got any idea how they're going to do the Knights Combat Patrol box, let me know in the comments down below. Are they going to come out with some sort of book that you have to buy? Well, have to is a strong word. Again, they'll probably come out with some sort of like chapter approved kind of General's Handbook sort of annual book that maybe just adds a bunch of new scenarios and some of this and some of that. And it's not a have to buy, it's a nice to have if you want to have those extra missions. I suspect there'll be some things that show up in White Dwarf, most likely as well. But all told, I don't know that there's a lot more that needs to get put out there. Again, like I said, other than new boxes down the road. Now, the question also becomes this. When a new box comes out to replace an old box, does that make the list for the old box illegal? Or like, do they just take it off the website? Or what happens? How does that work? That'll be interesting to see how they plan on doing that as well. Again, like I said, I think that this was a smart move for them to go forward to get more people back into 10th edition. I'm having a good time with it. Like I said, I've played several games so far, and I'm looking forward to playing some more. And I'm just like, I think it was a good idea. So honestly, I think it was a good idea. There's some things I would tweak. There's some things I would change. I would like to see some new lists come out. Like I mentioned before in a video, Pachow, I'd like to see some new lists that come out that, for some of the models that are already out there, like some of the stuff from Kill Team, like the Space Cops, the Navy Breachers, like the Kasserkin, like all kinds of things like that. I don't know exactly how they could do that, but I'd like to see some lists come out for some of those extra models that are out there. I think that'd be cool. I think that with some of them, they could definitely pull it off and make it work. It would be a smart plan because it would allow people who are maybe staying away from Combat Patrol, who are thinking about getting back in, but they don't want to buy another box. Even though all the rest of the stuff is free, they just don't want to buy another box. It, gives them the ability to take a look at that. So all told, hopefully this video has maybe gotten you to understand my opinion. I don't know if that actually matters anymore. It's been a long day. Hopefully, if you're interested in Combat Patrol, you'll take a look at it. You either already have maybe some of the models, which is a potential, or you're thinking about buying one of the boxes and going from there. Again, all the stuff to play is free downloads, which is cool. And I think it's a smart move. And I think it's a step in the right direction for Games Workshop, one that I like to see. But again, it's a good way to get into Warhammer 40,000, but it's not necessarily the best way to get into wargaming. And again, like I said, if there's a video, if you want me to make a video about, the best way to get into wargaming as far as like what kind of game, what kind of, models and that kind of stuff, let me know down in the comments below. If you think that I missed something here about Combat Patrol and like a big problem with it or a big awesome, bonus to it that I haven't talked about, let me know as well. If you liked this video, as kind of weird as it is, I would appreciate it a whole bunch, actually, if you could click the box down below. My birthday's coming up next week, so, think of it as a birthday, present. Click the like button. I appreciate that. Subscribe if you want to. And also, thanks for watching.